Happy Thursday, everybody. That's a long countdown. I might
it
shorten
is. Well, I think we talked about time on our last call, where when you and I each have something in the microwave, how much stuff we can actually get done, right? For me, it's the 3-minute bone broth in the morning, and I'm just shocked.
Yeah. Hey, I got David. We have Rachel just in time. David, thank you for sharing time with us today. Time. It's amazing how it flies. And I know that's the corniest saying, yet sometimes, even for somebody like me who sees time,
yes,
it gets away from me.
Yes.
And then we have someone like you who sometimes, perpetually keeps on running until, you crash.
Yes.
Because 50% of the world doesn't see time, you know, and it's more challenging.
It is. I really felt that this week, just with workload and deadlines. So had a little chat with myself.
That's when you're supposed to SOS your coach.
Yes, I know, right? Well, I was able to manage it. I mean, dealing with it, right? So I guess if I didn't get it under control, then yes, I would have SOS'd my coach for sure.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I know this week has been an interesting week for me. And so I've been SOSing my coach, and I'm just very grateful that we exist.
Yes, me too. Me too. It's like a lifeline.
Yeah. And so let me ask you this question. Not self-serving. I know it's going to sound self-serving. But I was thinking about this because of one of the conversations I had with somebody earlier today, not one of my clients. What do you think stops somebody from having a coach? What would be, you think, an objection for someone to say, no, I don't want a coach?
That's a really good question.
I know I put you on the spot with it. I'm going to say one as you're thinking. One of it might be accurate or not accurate, not being able to budget it.
That's exactly what I was thinking. And or perceived value.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And then also, I think depending on the generation somebody was raised in, there are generations where, even going to see a counselor is not really considered something that you do. Right. And I think the one correlation for me with coaching that makes it make so much sense is when we talk about professional athletes, right? It's like they have coaches for every part of their life. That's how important coaching is. And I think that, at least for myself, being rather independent, I always have this, I can do this on my own. And probably partially also being from that generation where like counseling wasn't really something that you did, and not that counseling and coaching
or talked about. Yeah.
Right. But it's just that reaching out and saying, I need some help with this, but I do think perceived value is huge. I can remember the very first coach that I hired, my goodness, 25 years ago, probably. And when she told me what she charged, I thought, wow, I don't think I've ever paid that much for anything. But she was really good at what she did. And what I realized was, instead of looking at it, she was charging by the hour. Instead of looking at it as an hour, it was weeks worth of material if I put it to work. Right.
Yeah. So so two conversations. One person to me today said, I will give up Netflix, ice cream, everything before I give up my coach.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the way I feel. I would give up Disney Plus and everything else before I give up my coach. And I just lost the second train of thought. Sorry, it'll come back to me. My brain is a little bit on jumbo today. Yeah.
I get it.
I know there was point 2, but it came and left. I can only do 1 point at a time right now with everything that's happening in my world. Yeah. 1 point at a time. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about real estate for a minute. So I think everybody on time change why, then we change it. Okay, David, I'm not sure your question. Can you be more specific? And I'm going to go on to this. So most of everybody in my life, either on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, knows I'm in the process of moving and selling my home. And I've been in real estate for 25 years. As you know, I started out as an assistant, then I became rookie of the year when I got my license, and then I got licensed in three different states as my ex and I are moving around the country, being a top producer, coaching now realtors for 12 years. Wow. And I am still stressed. And I think I'm stressed over being stressed. It's like, Tanya, what is the matter?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I am stressed.
Well, it's number one, it's always compared to most people's pool of assets. It's generally the largest asset.
Correct. It is mine, right? For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing. And then when you're actually living in it, right? So as opposed to an investment property, it's your home, it's your heart. When you have company, you run around the house and make it look really pretty because you want everybody to be comfortable in your house and enjoy your house. So you can't help but having that connection. And now we're trying to turn it into a product, right? So we're like, put all your stuff away.
I took down the wedding pictures. I took down, grandkid pictures. I did.
Yep. And now you're getting ready to have people come in and see your baby, right? And so.
And then you have a home inspector that comes in and points out all the things wrong with your baby.
Yep. Puts it in writing.
Yeah, and puts it in writing, gives me really ugly pictures.
I know. Oh, I know. My goodness. The home inspection pictures, I just it's always horrific. Yesterday I read 3 home inspections. And it's just always interesting how they read. They read really harsh. However, they're doing their job. Yep. They're just simply pointing out what they see and getting a real zoomed in close up of the issue.
Yeah.
So,
well, the results of my home inspection, I wasn't overly upset about. There was nothing in there that was major. It was all a bunch of little piddly. You got corrosion on the bib hose, or your downspout's not quite, working. And it's like nothing that can't be easily fixed, nothing that was overly expensive. So once I slept on it for a day, and went back and said, okay, these are the 10 or 12 things I'm going to work on. It was fine. I mean, I still need to get somebody to come do most of it. I could do some of it, but I'd rather have it that somebody licensed took care of it. So great, take care of it. But that's one of the things I work on with my clients. I know you've heard it. My clients have heard it. We got to take an E. We got to process it. I am a processor and I am very reactive. So I need to not react. I need to take time, have a good night's sleep, process it. I wrote out my to-do list. I'm like, that's nothing.
No, it's nothing. I wish I had the numbers, and I think I'll get close to it, but not correct. One of my preferred home inspectors told me he's done over 7,000 home inspections and has only had one that didn't have an issue. And it was not a brand new home. And he inspects brand new homes all the time. In fact, we're having this conversation at a brand new home. So, we encourage our clients to get new builds inspected. Yeah. And it's always interesting because most of the new build sales representatives tell us, you don't need to do that. We've had the inspections, the city's been through it, and yet there's always something. And that to me is not about the home builder being a poor builder. It's not about the salesperson misleading us. It's about people being human and things get missed. Right. So one more set of eyes is always good. And in a lot of cases, it's minor. It's really no big deal, but we do want to know about it. And in a few instances, and I'm speaking specifically of new builds, it's been major. Of course, on resales, I've seen a lot of major things come up.
Sure. Well, I just purchased a new build, closed about a month ago.
Yeah. Yes.
And there were 5 things. I did have an independent home inspector, and he found 5 things. Yeah. One was something with the firewall in the garage, which I thought was serious. They did assure me it was fixed and showed me. Everything else was minor stuff. However, I wouldn't have seen it when I did that blue tape walkthrough. I wouldn't have seen it.
No. And there's another perception that comes along with a new build is that you have a warranty, right? And depending on the builder, it's a 1, a 2, whatever year warranty. Some of the issues that we've seen come up probably wouldn't present themselves to the eye for much longer than that. So one of them that we had as an example where in the attic, there was broken trusses. You wouldn't see exterior problems with broken trusses for a while, not until either the roof starts to sag or you start getting cracks in your walls, which could easily be far beyond the time frame that the builder will warranty it.
Right.
And or they could say, well, that happened after, right?
Yep.
So it's only in, actually going through that inspection that we find that. But back to your inspection and the rest of it, it's a really big deal. And I don't know very many sellers that don't feel the way that you feel.
Yeah. Well, so the point is, as I'm coaching a lot of real estate agents, real estate professionals, even lenders, because I went through the loan process when I closed on my home in Oregon, is the difference between customer service. Like some of the parties that helped me had amazing customer service, and then I had some of the vendors that helped me that had zero. And did not take into account my potential stress or worries, and they didn't know my background. They didn't know that it wasn't like, oh, Tanya coaches realtors and oh, Tanya's been a realtor for 20 years. No, they don't know my history. They didn't know my history.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there was no hand holding.
It's really interesting. And I don't understand why. And I hear this a lot, right? That people are just sort of left out there and kind of bumping into a wall and then moving over this way. How many professionals don't hold their client's hand and help them through something, right? And as you know, my daughter Taylor is an agent in our Idaho office. And we always joke that she had no choice than to know all of this stuff, because every time she was in the back seat of the car, there was a conversation going on with a client or, whatever about real estate, right? So she grew up thinking that this was all common knowledge. And now that she's an agent and she's going through things with clients using our checklist, which you help us create, so we make sure that we miss any steps. She said, even repeat home buyers or home sellers, there are things that they don't know because nobody ever explained it to them before.
Right. Or you forget, or it's new. So many things. And so I know one of your favorite books and one of my favorite books is Unreasonable Hospitality. So going to throw that out there. Great book. In fact, I was coaching an executive with who works for a corporation. Has I think 12 direct reports, and all of her direct reports are reading Unreasonable Hospitality. And it's not in the restaurant industry. Yeah. She's in the makeup industry. So it's a great book, and it applies to anybody that has customer service as one of their job descriptions.
It certainly does. And I think it's such a great book that it's definitely something to read more than once.
Yep.
And it's so well done. I think I listened to it the first time, and it was very entertaining because it was really well done. And I wanted to learn, like, how did they actually achieve their goal? Continuing to improve what they were doing in terms of customer service, because it seemed like they already had a really good customer service program. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And they just kept upping and upping and upping, and it's a phenomenal book. I highly recommend it to anybody in customer service.
Yep. And if it's a real estate agent, roofing company, executive that has direct reports, we all have customer service. And what are we doing that's above and beyond and not just hitting the bar? Or unintentionally? I can't imagine anybody intentionally wants poor customer service. However, there's a lot out there.
Yes, there is.
Yeah. Not good if we want to have referrals and repeat business and hopefully double our business, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So we focus in our office a lot on setting expectations, right? So in trainings with the agents, we talk a lot about that. Like, we know what we do, and we don't need our clients to learn how to do it. And we don't need our clients to necessarily know, like, the term, how the sausage is made, but they need to know that we're making it. Right. They need to know that although this is an important day to you, as an example, because you're having your home inspection, it's okay. I'll get it. I'll review it. We'll go over it together. They need to know that stuff. Yep. Instead of just feeling like they're out there Wonderland, wondering what's going to happen.
Yeah. Or calling them and saying, hey, I know this is really stressful. You got somebody poking around under your skirt, right?
Yeah.
Let's just talk, or go have a cup of coffee on me or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So we, I probably shared this with you before, but whenever we're present for an inspection, which we always go as long as we can be there, we bring goodies, bring cookies and waters for everybody. And it just sort of helps when we gather around to talk with the inspector and everybody's eating a chocolate chip cookie and kind of getting a little bit more personal with each other. It really helps diffuse the stress level.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, yeah, absolutely. Anything to help your client breathe.
Yes. Anything.
And even reminding them to breathe.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I want to circle back to David's comment about daylight savings time. And I'm going to say, don't even get me started. I don't like it. I'd give anything to be like Arizona or Alaska, Hawaii, right? Those are the 3 states I'm thinking that don't have daylight savings time. That would be so nice.
Yeah.
It really throws me for a loop, David. And it's harder and harder as I get older. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So you've got agents in your office that Karen, you are a perfect example. I don't give 10. So you're a 9.999 as far as customer service, servicing your clients, making the transaction fun, as stress-free as possible. I mean, I know you are, right? You're phenomenal. How are you training your agents? Or what do you do if you see an agent not being that way?
Oh gosh. Well, first thing I try to do is, bring them along with me. Like, watch how my clients receive this stuff, right?
Yeah.
I think that sometimes there's a perception that that people don't need to get quite as close as they probably need to get in a real estate transaction. It's like a short marriage, right? There's the courting.
Yeah.
There's the honeymoon, then there's the rough spots.
Yeah.
And then we
settle in.
Yeah, we settle in, and then we kind of part ways just for a bit, right? I stay in contact with my clients, but once their transaction's over, I'm not in their daily email. I'm not in their daily phone call log and that kind of thing. And so really training my agents that it is okay, and in my opinion, expected, that you actually get to know your clients and let them get to know you. Right. It's okay. Obviously, our first impression, we always show up dressed professionally, and we try to show up dressed professionally as much as we can. However, if there's a day that something has to happen and you're running from the gym, that's showing them who you are. Right. That's letting them in. So the first thing I do to answer your question is to bring my agents along with me so that I can try and teach by example. And then the next thing that we do is make the list. Right? We go through the checklist. Are you doing all of these things? And it's what we talk about all of the time. It's the difference between working in your transaction and working on your transaction, which then translates to in your business and on your business, right? So the working in the transaction is all the stuff that we have to do contractually. Right. Working on it is making it pleasurable for everybody. Yeah. So generally that's the key right there, is when that's kind of where the aha moment comes in for people. Don't just show up for the inspection, go get the cookies, go get the water, just those little extras. And all that takes is planning ahead, and the planning ahead comes from the checklist. Right. So for the most part, people come on board. And when they don't, then I would say eventually just find their way to another office. Mm-hmm. Not because I make it uncomfortable, but it is uncomfortable. So yesterday, as an example, I think it was yesterday, it was this week. when we had our office meeting, we did a round robin discussion about what was your weekend like? Because I knew we were all out working on projects, and everybody's was very different. And so we just had a candid conversation about that. And there was questions going back and forth, and it wasn't technical stuff. It was just us doing with each other what we do with our clients. So my point about people finding their way out the door is that becomes uncomfortable for someone who can't do that.
Right. So I'm going to do a shout out and an example. And then I do want to talk about some of the contract stuff we were talking about before we hopped on the live. Yeah. I had somebody from Cox Cable. I saw Cox Cable. There's like 3 or 4 trucks one day. I was doing my 3-mile walk, and I just kept seeing Cox Cable trucks in my subdivision going, what the heck? They must be, fixing the internet lines or something. It was unusual to have so many, within that 3-mile walk. And I got home, and within maybe 2 minutes, there was a knock on my door. I opened the door, and there's a Cox guy. The cable guy was at my front door. He's like, we are really slow. And so we are going door to door to see if there's anything we can do to better your internet. Do you ever get unstable connection on your,
Wow.
which I do. It says unstable connection when I'm on Zoom. I said, I actually do. He says, well, let me fix that for you. I mean, he just knocked on my door, said, we're slow. So we're going door to door, which I do not recommend door knocking. However, I don't know how else. If Cox calls me, I'm not picking up.
No.
Right. So yeah, I said, and he said, do you ever have any of this happen on your computer? And I said, yes, I get that unstable connection from time to time when I'm on Zoom. And since he's fixed it, it's not happened.
Wow.
Even right now when I'm talking to you, my connection typically is, I can get an error message. I'm not even on going live. I'm not getting that error message. So I'm like, yay, Cox.
Yep.
Didn't charge me a thing, nothing.
And what a great use of their time, right? When they have free time. I mean, that makes me feel so good about that company.
Yep.
That they're like, how, even obviously they couldn't improve in the entire Oceanside population's Wi-Fi that day, but they could improve a couple people's Wi-Fi that day, right? And even if you didn't have a problem, imagine how good that makes someone feel about the customer service.
Yep.
I mean, if you wanted to try and reach a cable company, most of us tolerate unstable Wi-Fi because we can't even stomach the idea of calling the cable company.
I know. Right? Absolutely. Or dealing with the salespeople and how many times you have to get transferred or answer those questions. And nothing. I didn't even have to sign anything. Just came in, changed my cable box and left. And I'm like, wow.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
big shout out to them.
Awesome. Yeah.
Good customer
Another
service.
one, I'm going to do a shout out for Kylie, because Kylie is owns her own social media company. And I have not worked with Kylie for over a year or so. However, she called me yesterday and I picked up. I saw, it said Kylie on my phone, and I picked up. Hey, how are you doing? And she said, hey, I just wanted to give you an update on some of the updates on Facebook that you might not be aware of. And she did. And I said, thank you. And how are you? And we chit chatted. And I'm like, she just gave me something that I had no clue was happening on Facebook.
Yeah. And it's a pretty important thing. So should we share it here?
Sure. Go for it.
I was thinking about that. So Facebook has decided to no longer store any live material for more than 30 days. So if you have any lives on your page, as soon as it is 31 days old, it's going away.
Yep.
And so if you don't want that to happen, download them, get them off of Facebook and store them somewhere else. YouTube is an example.
Yep. And all my stuff is on YouTube. So there's nothing I have to do, because any reel or anything I post to Facebook goes to YouTube first.
Oh,
but many people don't do that.
Right.
Like our lives go to YouTube, and that's where it stays. It stays on Facebook, but I actually knew that our lives didn't stay on Facebook for very long. That's why I make sure it goes to YouTube.
Yeah.
So Karen, if you're doing anything you're posting, or you have Kylie posting or whatever, it needs to go to you. You need to have a place to house it.
Yes. Yep. We do. Thank goodness.
Yep. And David, yes. What can I help you with? I hope every business owner asks that. What can I help you with? And my very, very, very favorite question, David, is what can I do to make our business relationship seamless? Like, what can I do to make your home buying process seamless? Or what are your fears? Or with David owns his own company and he does graphics. So what are your concerns with graphics? Or what can I do to make this process easier for you? Knowing what your client needs is important.
Right.
No matter what business you're in.
Completely agree. Because again, back to the subject where, people don't really necessarily know every step of my business. That's what I'm here to help with. And so same thing, people don't know what they don't know. So like with David, talking about graphics, I know that I want some things done, but I don't even really know I just want something changed. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So talking to an expert, and letting them give me some advice. It makes sense.
Yep. Yeah. David did some work for me and he's great. He did a great job. And I know that I needed to have some, edits or revisions. And, it takes a while for everybody, for two strangers to get on the same page when it comes with a vision.
It does. It does.
So oh, he's good. I highly recommend David. He was really good.
I had an idea for a logo. It wasn't for my company. This goes back years. And I drew it out, and I have a pretty artistic eye, but I don't have an artistic hand. So I drew it out. I'm like, this is the concept of what I'm looking for. And the artist just couldn't hear it. We spoke two different languages. And then finally what she sent me back, I'm like, could have done that on the computer myself. But I had to go away for a little while and figure out like how I was going to communicate that to her, because she was good at what she did. So, I take some responsibility for that too. But it takes a little while, because we do generally have something in our mind that we think we want.
Yeah. Well, I have a funny story to share. So when I did my logo, can you see my logo? It's on the top left of the banner, right? So I was working with, it was a referral, and I think it was Zeneb actually who referred me to this person that did my logo. And so I said, I have a vision, and my vision is a compass, and I my last name is Bugbee, so I always hide a bee somewhere. So I want to be hidden somewhere. And so we probably went back and forth, I want to say at least a dozen times, and it just wasn't hitting, and it was close, but I knew it wasn't quite there. We were getting closer and closer. Super patient with me. Never did I feel like I was exasperating them, with my like, nope, not quite there. Nope, not quite there. And I was eating dinner with my mom. So again, quite a few years ago, having dinner with my mom at Spaghetti Factory, and we're both sitting there looking, and he kept sending me these pictures, and we're having dinner. And so I'm passing my phone and we're commenting, and the waiter says, something, asks a question because curious as to what we're doing, right? We're really involved in it. And I said, I'm trying to, just not quite getting my logo. There's just something missing. And the waiter says, oh, well, I'm in college for graphic design. Can I look? Oh. And so I gave my phone to the waiter, and he's like, oh, do the TBCC instead of north, south, west, east. Oh. And that was it. That was the piece that was missing.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I wish I took his name, but the waiter at Spaghetti Factory did the TBCC piece, because everything else was exactly the way it was, but it had north, south, east, and west, and I didn't like it.
That's wild.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway,
just fight it all together.
Sometimes it takes a village.
That's for sure.
Okay. So do you want to talk about, before we have to hang up, some of the things we discussed about the contracts in Tennessee and so update us, because I know we talked about it nonstop. I know our thing was happening and then happened, and then we've kind of stopped talking about it. So let's dive in. So
just as a kind of a prelude to this, right? We're talking about the lawsuit that happened where we decoupled commission sharing, and so it used to be that a brokerage, the listing brokerage, had a contract with the seller for a certain amount of commission, and then that brokerage shared it with the brokerage that the buyer's representation was through, and they said no more of that, right? Mm-hmm. Separate.
Yep.
And then each state obviously writes their contracts. So we have this one rule and a lot of interpretations of it.
Yep.
And I have twice this week seen it in a contract still.
Interesting.
Stated the same way. Now, there's been a lot of emphasis on don't advertise at an MLS. That was like the biggest thing that probably got the most amount of news, was do not put that percent into MLS. Yep. And so they removed the ability to even do that in MLS, right? So basically they took it away, so we can't even make a mistake. But then they left it in the contract. So when it gets down to it, it's still happening, right?
Interesting.
It's not being offered. But if you look at the lawsuit was about that cooperative commission.
Yep.
Because they were calling it under the anti-trade. And so as long as the contract is still showing that cooperating commission, we're going to be in trouble. This week at Inman Connect, which is their big annual seminar, it's actually down by you this year. There was a lawyer who's also a licensed agent speaking, and he just said 2 more years, if this doesn't stop, 2 more years, there's going to be more lawsuits, right? Because it's going to take a little bit of time before it starts kind of seeping out there. And I hate to even, talk about it like into the general public because, well, for one, we're not doing it. Just so you know, Rock and Associates, we do not do that at all. We have a very, very strict policy. But the reason I'm the part of it that makes me comfortable talking about it on a public forum is for any agent who's listening. I mean, please make sure for your own self, for your career, that your broker is talking to you about this. And if it doesn't line up with what you've personally learned about the lawsuit, and I highly encourage everybody to be very knowledgeable about it, you might want to visit with some other brokerages.
Yeah. And I agree. And I know just how knowledgeable you are and how you've made it a huge priority to stay totally current.
Yes.
And your agents are obviously totally current because you are. If your broker is not keeping you current or not knowledgeable when you ask questions, go find the answers and stress how important it is to find somebody who's going to give you the right answers through all of this. It's just crucial. Nobody wants to be sued or have a bad reputation, or we work too hard. Real estate agents work way too hard to have something like that derail them.
I agree. And, not every agent was necessarily affected by the lawsuit in their pocket, let's say, right? Like the brokerages took the hit.
Correct. Yeah.
However, we are all going to suffer a wee bit from this for a little while it corrects itself, right? So why would we want to invite it back in 2 years?
Oh, no.
There's a broker that I was listening to some stuff that they were saying. Anyways, they at the height of the lawsuit, they were spending $100,000 a month on legal fees, and they're not a huge brokerage. So the big ones are spending even more than that. And I've already told my team jokingly, like, if that happens, we're all going down to Walmart together to fill out applications.
I guess I need to follow you too then.
And I'm confident it won't happen. I mean, my agents are really good about it. In fact, one of the contracts that it was in, my agent brought it to me, which was great, right? So we could talk about it and how to handle it. But it's just interesting because these are state created contracts using attorneys to put them together. So it's really hard for me to understand how it's still happening.
Yeah. Well, they will get sued. Somebody will call it out.
Yeah.
I have had a couple coach calls with clients recently, very recently, where their brokerages have left the MLS. Boston was one of them. One of my clients from Boston was saying, their brokerages is just parting ways. So there's still changes out there happening.
There's a lot of changes. And I think that's another really important piece to this is the lawsuit is over. It's settled. The rule changed. But the information is still coming out. And, to the states that still have it in their contract, I'm not saying, oh, goodness, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
However, I think it's important to note that this is going to continue to change as things are brought forward, right?
Yeah. So, I like Lenore's comment. Did you see Lenore's comment?
No.
Can you read it on your end?
No, I don't. Not only when it pops up, and it didn't pop up.
Let me pop it up.
There it is. Yeah, that is, you're right.
So true.
Yeah. Very, very true. Yeah. And so interesting to me how you can't, I don't understand how you could be an agent and not know it, because our inboxes were flooded.
I know.
Right?
Well, the inboxes are the internet, everything, our emails, everything. Yep. Yeah. Our emails, the internet. If you're on, doesn't matter if you're on Instagram, Facebook, everybody was talking about it. We were going live every week over this.
Yeah, we were. And, I will say that I don't think that, the general public obviously was getting that much information. They got whatever the news put out, and that's fine. It's our business, right? It's our business to know and to understand. And that's the part where I have a hard time with, the statement Lenore just made being accurate. It truly is accurate that so many just putting their head in the sand. Yeah. Very, very interesting. And bless agents. There was a lot of them too that just spent so much time trying to figure a way to work around it. I'm like,
that's us free spirits. Like our non-rule followers.
Follow the rule.
Follow the rules, Tanya.
And use all that energy for something else. Like how to figure out how to do a scratch off on your cards that you're sending out, right?
Yep. Best St. Patrick's Day card ever.
Thank you.
All right, Karen, do you have anything coming up you want to promote?
I do. Yeah, I do. So we do a lot of agent training at Rock and Associates, obviously training our agents. However, we open it up to other agents too. And it's a way for other agents to get some information. And I mean, other agents as in anybody from any state is just fine and welcome. This year so far, we've had 2 1031 exchange seminars that were absolutely phenomenal. Great information shared. And next week we are doing a blueprint for your business, the Rockstar blueprint for your business. So we're going to talk about farming. We're going to talk about growing your database. We're going to talk about all those checklists for nurturing your clients. So please join us. You'll find on Rock and Associates on our Facebook page, there's a sign up link there, or you can reach out to me.
Yes, and Karen, please put a link after this post to Facebook.
Okay, I will.
Just post a link in there. And I think you can post one on YouTube because Facebook will get rid of it, but YouTube will stick, but it's up to you.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that too. Yeah. And then another thing that we did, we have one of our agents doing a home buyers seminar, a series. And so I was able to travel up and attend one with her, and that was great. But again, just around educating her clients. So good stuff.
You've got good stuff going on.
We do. And we'll have coming up in May without a date yet, but the next one will be on credit repair. And this gal is a rock star. Definitely going to want to listen to this one. People can come on who want to repair their credit and listen, but she's going to actually be presenting to agents so that we can learn about her tools so we can better serve our clients.
Right. Which I encourage my clients to go listen when you offer that, or I want her to come and do a pop-up training or both.
Yeah, both. She's willing.
Okay.
She's super passionate about what she does. So
awesome. Well, connect us when you have time. I know you have a full plate or 2 or 3.
It is a busy week. It's a good week.
Yeah. Well, I've got my Unleash Your Brave workshop tomorrow, and I have 16 people signed up for it. So I'm super excited for that workshop. I do it 4 times a year. It's complimentary, and it's for business owners to have a little bit of a mindset shift. Mm-hmm. And then work on very specific tactics with what their pillars are for their business, and then learning how to create a sense of community so that there's some accountability. So I look forward to that workshop. Great. So it's tomorrow. Group. Yep. Yeah, I did. Well, it's grown over the years. I remember the first time I did it, Rachel was there, and I think I had one other person. So it's been growing. And that's what I, and I do. I don't know if all 16 will show up, but as of today, I have 16 people signed up. And so I'm super proud.
Yeah, that's great. Good for you. And that's really what it takes is the consistency, right? You create a situation where people begin to look for your seminars because they get so much out of them. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Yep. And that's what I tell my clients. It's okay if one person shows up, do it again. Yeah. Because next time 4, and then next time there'll be 10, and I am living proof.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. I hope they're great. I want them to be. It's a priority for me. Yeah. All right, everybody. We've gone 45 minutes. So thank you for sharing 45 minutes with Karen and I. Sorry, Charlotte's not here. We'll catch her next month. Yeah. Or we'll do an extra one.
We can do that.
All right, everybody. I'm going to end the stream.